Welcome to the Secret History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Dated 1968, this photograph is connected to the period of civil war in the region of Biafra, in what is now Nigeria. The conflict arose after an attempt to declare independence, leading to severe political instability and a major humanitarian crisis. Taken in the early 20th century by physician Harvey Cushing, a pioneer of modern neurosurgery, this image documents a brain surgery case. As part of his scientific research, he used photographs to record techniques, medical progress, and clinical outcomes. Taken in the early 20th century by neurosurgeon Harvey Cushing, considered one of the pioneers of modern neurosurgery, this photograph documents brain surgery cases for scientific purposes. He used images to study techniques, record results, and share knowledge with other professionals in the medical field. Taken in the 20th century by Harvey Cushing, one of the pioneers of modern neurosurgery, this photograph shows patients documented as part of his medical studies. He used images to record surgical techniques, clinical results, and advances in brain surgery. This image shows Freddie McIntosh, a one-year-old child wearing a special sun protection outfit because of an extreme sensitivity of his skin to daylight caused by a medical condition. The suit covers most of his body, including arms, legs, and face, providing a barrier against the sun's rays. Taken in July of 1941 in the city of Neville, located in what was then the Soviet Union, this photograph is associated with the early period of the German invasion. It relates to the capture of Soviet military personnel, including women who served in the armed forces. This photograph refers to Billy, an elephant that lived at the Los Angeles Zoo and that, in 1939, became difficult to handle because of advanced age. The episode led to administrative decisions on how to deal with complex situations involving large animals in captivity. Dated 1921, this photograph shows a veteran of the First World War who lost his sight marrying his fiancée. The couple appears in formal attire, with the groom wearing military decorations and the bride dressed in an elegant white gown and veil. Taken in 1868 by Thomas Annan, this photograph shows the Old Vennel Alley near High Street in the city of Glasgow, Scotland. Annan was hired to document the poorest areas of the city before they were demolished and rebuilt. Related to the Mexican Revolution, which took place in the early 20th century, this photograph illustrates tactical methods used by soldiers during the conflicts of 1913. The record documents the planning and military organization of the time, including troop movements, strategic positioning, and the use of the landscape to support operations. Taken during the Olympic Marathon in 2004, this photograph shows Brazilian runner Vanderlei de Lima being interrupted by a spectator during the race. The incident occurred while he was leading the competition and was pushed toward the side of the course. This image captures a moment from the marathon at the London Olympic Games in 1908, when Italian runner Dorando Pietri was approaching the finish line. He had run the entire distance of the race and was extremely exhausted from the intense physical effort. From the 1960s, these photographs depict ceremonies held by members of the Church of God, with signs following. a religious group present in some regions of the United States. The images document practices based on literal interpretations of biblical passages, such as those found in the Gospel of Mark. Dated 1923, this photograph shows the early days of the Walt Disney Company, founded by Walt Disney and his brother Roy O. Disney in Los Angeles, California, in the United States. The image portrays the company's small office with simple desks, drawing equipment, and papers scattered around, reflecting the modest beginnings of a studio that would become world famous. Dated 1996, this image shows Muhammad Ali lighting the Olympic cauldron during the opening ceremony of the Summer Olympic Games in Atlanta, in the state of Georgia, in the United States. The moment became one of the most emotional in modern Olympic history, symbolizing courage, resilience, and unity. Dated 1960, this photograph shows boxer Muhammad Ali in his famous victory pose, shortly after achieving an important sports triumph. He appears with a confident expression and raised arms, conveying excitement and celebration in front of the crowd and the cameras. Dated 1960, during the marathon of the Summer Olympic Games in Rome, Italy. This photograph shows Ethiopian athlete Abebe Bikila running barefoot. He appears in full stride with a firm posture and steady pace, moving through the city's historic streets. Dated 1896, during the first Olympic Games of the modern era, held in Athens, Greece. This photograph shows the crowd gathered in the stands and around the competition areas, watching track and field events and other sports. Dated 1924, during the Winter Olympic Games held in Chamonix, France. This image shows the first Olympic village in history. The site housed athletes from different countries in temporary accommodations near the sports venues. Dated 1924, during the first Winter Olympic Games held in Chamonix, France. This photograph shows the Canadian ice hockey team scoring a goal against the United States. Dated 1928, during the Olympic Games in Amsterdam. This photograph shows American runner Betty Robinson crossing the finish line in the 100-meter dash. With her victory, she became the first woman to win a gold medal in a track and field event at the Olympic Games. Dated 1956, during the Summer Olympic Games in Melbourne, Australia. This photograph shows Australian swimmer Murray Rose signing autographs for fans. Rose, already known for his achievements in the pool, appears surrounded by admirers, many of them young, showing excitement and admiration. Taken in December of 1946 in Miami, this photograph shows Al Capone next to his wife, May Capone, during the holiday season. The couple appears in a sunny setting typical of Florida, enjoying a quiet moment. Dated 1932, this image shows one of the extremely rare photographs taken inside the Supreme Court of the United States during a session. The photographer, the German Erich Salomon, secretly captured the moment by hiding a small camera inside a fake cast while pretending to have a broken arm. Dated 1945, this image shows Igor Gozenko, an employee of the Soviet embassy in Ottawa, during an interview with an Associated Press reporter. In the photograph, he partially hides his face, reflecting caution and concern for his safety. Guzenko defected to the West that same year. Dated 1939, this photograph shows President Emil Hacha leaving the city of Berlin for Prague, shortly after signing the agreement that resulted in the loss of Czechoslovakia's independence. In the image, he appears downcast, accompanied by officials and aides in a formal setting. Dated 1858, this image shows veterans who served in the army of Napoleon Bonaparte, gathered decades after the military campaigns of the early 19th century. They appear wearing well-preserved uniforms from that time, with medals and insignias that symbolize their former roles and achievements. Dated 1869, this image shows the last surviving veterans of the Third French siege of the city of Tarragona, which took place in 1809 during the Napoleonic campaigns in the Iberian Peninsula. The men appear gathered decades later, wearing preserved uniforms and medals that recall their military service. From the period of the Second World War, this image shows German soldiers using a Zundap motorcycle, a model widely used for transportation and communication. These vehicles were known for their durability and their ability to cross rough terrain, and they were used in many logistical operations. Taken during the period of the Second World War, this image shows a Stuka attack aircraft, known for its distinctive design and its characteristic sound in flight. In some versions, the crews decorated the planes with custom paintings and symbols, including smiling faces or artistic figures, something that was common among pilots of that time. Dated 1915, this photograph shows soldiers from the British Royal Horse Artillery accompanied by highly trained pack horses. The animals, used to carry equipment and supplies, displayed disciplined behavior, allowing the soldiers to perform demonstrations and maneuvers with them. This photograph was taken in 1952 and shows a driver taking a picnic basket out of a Rolls-Royce while enjoying the panoramic view of New York City. The car, a symbol of elegance and prestige, is parked at a high vantage point. Dated 1920, this photograph shows one of the earliest color images of England, captured using the autochrome Lumiere process. This technique, developed in France in 1907, used tiny grains of potato starch dyed in primary colors to record natural tones directly on the photographic plate. Taken in Egypt in the 1870s, this image shows a landscape marked by historic buildings, sand dunes, and the contrast between the desert and the banks of the Nile River. The scene includes ancient temples, mosques, and markets, reflecting the country's rich cultural and architectural heritage. This photograph shows people standing at the entrance of the nunnery, an important structure located in Chichen Itza, an ancient Mayan city in present-day Mexico. The building is known for its elaborate stone decoration, with geometric figures and carved masks that represent deities and elements of nature. This photograph shows the staircase of the Pyramid of Kukulkan, located in Chichen Itza in Mexico, one of the most famous structures of the Mayan civilization. The steep, symmetrical steps lead to the temple at the top of the pyramid, which was used for religious ceremonies and astronomical observations. This image shows Alfred Percival Maudslay in Capone, Honduras, standing near a Mayan sculpture or stela resting on its original base. The record emphasizes the carved stone details, including inscriptions and symbolic figures typical of Mayan art and architecture. This photograph shows Glenn Curtiss, a pioneer of American aviation, seated in a primitive glider in the early 20th century. The aircraft has a light wooden frame, fabric-covered wings, and a simple seat for the pilot, reflecting the earliest experiments with controlled flight. Dated 1907 in New York, this image shows an early version of a diving suit known as the Iron Man. The equipment was designed to allow the user to explore underwater environments with protection from water pressure and with electrical systems for lighting or tools. This photograph shows a flying saucer-shaped gas station, part of an architectural style that was popular in the United States during the 1960s and 1970s. These structures, known as flying saucer gas stations, were inspired by the space race and the era's fascination with exploring the universe. This photograph shows a flying saucer-shaped gas station, part of the architectural style known as flying saucer gas stations, which was popular in the United States during the 1960s and 1970s. The building has a raised circular roof supported by central columns, evoking futuristic design inspired by the space race and the science fiction culture of the time. This image shows the interface of the professional network LinkedIn in 2002, shortly after its launch. The screen displays the platform's early layout, with user profiles and fields for professional experience, education, and contact connections. Dated 1960, this photograph shows King Faisal of Saudi Arabia during an official visit to the Royal Palace in London. The monarch appears in traditional Arab clothing, accompanied by British officials in a formal atmosphere of ceremony and diplomacy. Dated 1960, this image relates to the visit of the Beatles to the city of Sydney in Australia. The British group was welcomed by enthusiastic crowds who gathered in the streets and around hotels, hoping to see the musicians up close. Dated 1947, this image captures a moment of excitement during the presentation of a model from Christian Dior's collection in Paris. The event took place shortly after the launch of the famous New Look, which marked the return of elegance and luxury in post-war fashion. This photograph shows passengers on board one of the first transcontinental flights carried out in the early 20th century. They are seated in simple chairs with basic seat belts or none at all, reflecting the style of airplanes from that era. Taken in the Soviet Union in the 1950s and 1960s, this image shows families celebrating the arrival of their first television sets. Television was seen as a symbol of modern life and progress, and buying one represented an important milestone in family life at home. This photograph shows an improvised radio station set up inside the St. Moritz Hotel to broadcast coverage of the Winter Olympic Games. The equipment includes transmitters, microphones, wires, and tables, with operators focused on the technical work. Dated 1964 in the city of Innsbruck in Austria during the Winter Olympic Games. This photograph shows Austrian soldiers transporting snow to the competition tracks because there was not enough natural snow and ice that year. This photograph shows the location of De Puiseux, known for recreational activities that combine cycling and gliding. People appear using adapted bicycles and light gliders, taking advantage of ramps or sloped terrain to practice the sport. Dated 1933 in the town of Boren in Belgium, this image shows citizens gathered near a viaduct waiting for an alleged appearance of the Virgin Mary. The event took place near a Christian school where children had claimed to see the religious figure the previous day. Taken in Prague, in what is now the Czech Republic, during the 1950s, this image shows cobblestone streets surrounded by historic buildings, Gothic towers, and electric streetcars running through the city center. People walk in clothing typical of the period, reflecting everyday life amid post-war rebuilding. Dated 1950, this photograph shows a group of motorcyclists gathered somewhere in the state of Wisconsin in the United States. The motorcycles include models from Triumph, Indian, and Harley-Davidson, all famous for their classic design and distinctive sound. Dated 1900, this image shows Russian peasants carrying a hunted elk across a river in the Yenisei province in the Siberian region. The scene portrays the collective effort and the close relationship between rural communities and the natural environment. This image shows a device designed to measure the shape of the human body in order to track physical changes over time. The equipment has sensors or markers placed around the body, allowing accurate records of measurements such as circumference, proportions, and posture. This image shows an exercise device designed to expand the chest, increase blood flow, and improve oxygenation of the lungs. The machine has levers and adjustable supports that allow the user to open and close the arms or torso in a controlled way, simulating stretching movements and strengthening the muscles involved in breathing. Dated 1953, this photograph shows an automatic chocolate vending machine installed in a New York City subway station. The polished metal, rectangular device offered small chocolate bars for just 1 cent. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.